Welcome to Bass and Boundaries podcast. I'm your host, Amy G, and this is your one-stop shop for all things mental health and music. Hi everyone, welcome to Bass and Boundaries. I am so excited and absolutely about this podcast today because I'm joined by somebody that I've actually seen live, and we're just going to dive in, talk all about it. So my lovely LICIA, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's LICIA. I go as LICIA. I'm a drum and bass DJ and vocalist. I've been kind of performing live for the past 4 years and started releasing music properly again about last year. And I'm really excited to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here because when you said yes, I was like, no way. Because I've become quite cheeky. I just don't come on my podcast.
Yeah. I just love chatting about it. I love chatting about drum and bass. It's just a fun way to do that.
And it's all things like mental health as well. So I kind of know the answer anyway, but how did you get into drum and bass? What was that pivotal moment where you went, I'm going to create that, and that's the genre that I'm absolutely going with?
Mm-hmm. It was funny because originally I didn't like it at all. I remember growing up in school and people are playing Mackie G and you're just there this music's absolute rubbish. In my head, that's how I had it. And I even remember, I think I had my best friend Amy in school, and her older brother, he went to uni and was listening to it a lot and DJing it. And then in COVID, obviously you had that time when you could share with one household, I think. So I'd always be around hers, and he would be showing her drum and bass, and then she would be showing me drum and bass. And at the time I remember saying to him, I hate it. And then 2 weeks later, after listening, the bug just bit, and I went from hating it to being absolutely obsessed. And even I think within 2 months, it was all I was listening to. And I went to university very shortly after, which obviously I went to Leeds. So there was a lot of drum and bass, a lot of house, a lot of techno, just electronic music everywhere. So it kind of blew up from there, really.
That's mad. I mean, to be fair, my dad, when he was alive, he grew up listening to techno, house, and then he went through a rock era where it was Nirvana, because I'm a 90s kid. So I grew up, actually, I was proper emo kids then I oh gosh. But then in my early 2000s, I don't know if there was a bit of it was more a transitionary period, because then I found Clubland. So Cascada, Italo Brothers, that sort of thing. I went to Clubland Live and it was the best night of my life. And I was like, no, this is it. But then it's kind of migrated to drum and bass.
Yeah.
So it's mad, isn't it? What did you listen to in your teenager years?
Well, to be fair, a lot more. I used to be in an indie rock band, and I listened to a bit of Nirvana and stuff like that as well. So it's weird how it's I think I've seen, especially recently, a lot of crossover of rock and drum and bass, or metal and drum and bass. You see people when they listen to metal and they'll listen to drum and bass. It's yeah, there's a lot of links to it. So it's almost although I used to not like drum and bass, it probably was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I know. And there was something I saw, and I didn't even know this existed. I think Subfocus had done it a while ago. He did a massive remix with Bring Me the Horizon. And I was like, what is this? Because I love Bring Me the Horizon, but they're not my go-to anymore. But they're always there on my playlist. But I'm one of them weirdos that has my liked songs. And and when I show people, it can be drum and bass for a whole hour, and then Sean Paul. Just random. Do you know what I mean? It's just what is that? But do you think that music has, in particular, do you think it's helped your mental health? How has it helped you if you're ever feeling a certain way?
I think when I was younger, I'm an only child, so obviously you do spend maybe quite a lot of time on your own when you're younger, and because I grew up learning instruments and classical instruments, then it also just when I was on my own, I'd songwrite a little bit, and then I taught myself guitar, and I just found it very therapeutic to go and play some chords or strum. Whenever I'd get stressed, I would literally just go start playing guitar, and then it would turn into writing a song and stuff like that, and it would all just be for fun, but it just felt like a way of just being creative and just expressing myself. But I would say now it's kind of transformed. It's very nice to have my own project of when I'm working on drum and bass and working on my artist project. Obviously, it's very therapeutic creatively, but I also think it's very therapeutic working on something and getting wins in something that's directly your own thing that you've created, if that makes sense. If you get a gig or you get a song out or you do a post and people it's well received, it's that's your own thing. It's not you're at a job working for a company that your work for them is being celebrated. It's like something you're building yourself that's wholly your own, and I find that very like satisfying.
It is satisfying, isn't it? And I think like for me, obviously I've got a day job, but I also do this like in a very short space of time. I only started this a month ago, and I'm getting like people like on every single week, and I'm like, oh my God, I've done that.
Yeah.
Like, and you're right. It's that satisfaction, isn't it, of knowing that that you've created that. And so in that respect, then, like, you have your own little projects and things like that. But who inspired you? Like, who inspires you the most that made you think, no, I want to do what they're doing? You know,
I think in terms of like, because I never did the vocals. I always did like the songwriting, and then I started doing the DJing, and that was all fun. It was all very separate. And then obviously, I think especially when I was getting to drum and bass, like A Little Sound was who I was listening to a lot, just because of her, like, especially her older stuff, her vocals are so euphoric, but then the drum and bass obviously would be so heavy. And it was, I just, every single release I'd be obsessed with. And obviously she did the live performances as well. So I'd say like definitely her and Emily Mackis as well, like huge inspirations, because just the way they perform and can host a crowd as well live, it's just so impressive. Yeah.
And I'm enjoying seeing a lot more women rise up and doing drum and bass and DJing, because I think for the lot of it, like, you see primarily it's kind of male orientated, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's so good when you know, when I saw it obviously in Drumadic first time round in London when he did his show down there, and I cannot remember the lady's name, but she came on, and like, she really, like, everyone was leaving because obviously it was like, well, he's been on now, and I stayed and I was just watching it. I was just like, come on, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's so inspiring to see it. But who would be, if you could say, like, who has been that person that you've met so far that makes you think, do you know what, you are an absolute inspiration, like who you've physically been like around?
I think in terms of like physically being around, because I've had a lot more contact, like a lot more up and comers, I'd say I find really inspiring to meet, because you're not seeing them when they're on like their big high doing the big shows and everything's going great. You're seeing them in those in between moments where like maybe they're at a gig and they've been traveling for so many hours, but they've got to go to work the next day. I mean, I remember I went to Leeds Fest. I DJ'd at the campsite at Leeds Festival a couple of years ago, and I was with like FMS, JB, Elsie, who were like all up and comers. And I remember seeing like even FMS, obviously his growth now, he's like way bigger, but even at the time, like, he would get on the mic, he would host, he would introduce himself, he was like really, he wasn't just DJing, he was like hosting a crowd, and he would wake up and film content. And it was just like really interesting to see the transition from like DJing for fun to like him presenting himself as like this artist, this brand for people to follow, even though he was still on such the come up. So I'd say stuff like that is very inspiring, because it's more relatable, I guess, to your
it's about them being a real person, isn't it? Like, and like some of the bigger artists, it's like you always know, I mean, this is from experience, like contacting people that respond to their fans, you know it's them. But I've been in positions before where, you know, years and years ago, I met the Italo brothers. I was so honored to meet them, because I'd known the lead singer Matthias for years and years, and like we used to talk back and forth all the time. And then when they blew up, their media, their managers, they took over their accounts, and it was like that was cut off, and I felt so sad. And then when I ended up going to the he actually saw me, he was like, I'll give you a pass. So we got this access all areas pass. I went in the back, we sat, we was talking, and he was like, I'm so sorry that, you know, that happened, but he's effectively in control by his manager. And I just find that really sad, because, but yet you've got people like 1991 who I freaking love him, because he'll always reply to you. He always makes you feel like he's no better than anyone else. Like, he's just living his best life. And then you've got, like I said, people like Andromedic, he will always reply, you know, that sort of thing. And you've just got that, like, sort of, you get that vibe. It becomes more like, wow, actually, you're really lovely. And it makes you appreciate their music more.
Yeah, especially in drum and bass. Like, I feel like it's the one genre where like someone can be like huge and feel like super out of reach, but because as a genre it's a bit more separate from like the rest of the music industry, these people are reachable, and they are very appreciative, and they're very grounded and down to earth, like majority of the time, which is actually just so lovely, and like proof of like the community it has.
God, yeah. I mean, Felix Samuel, he's one. He did a tune with Andy C, which I've been listening to on repeat this week because I can't get it out of my head. And I did this little skit on TikTok, and it's just me working. It was like why I work from home, and I've got it blaring in the background. And he was like, "That is actually really funny." And I was like, "Well, that's just me. Like I can't." We was talking about it before. Like I can't, and I know you appreciate this. You are like me, where it's just there, isn't it? When you've got music like blaring, it's just so helpful, isn't it? Like
it makes everything more enjoyable and means I don't get distracted. I don't know, like if I put a mix on, I can just get all my tasks done so much quicker because you're just like locked into it. It keeps the rhythm going.
Yeah, and that's it. But yeah, I'm like can be completely opposite. Like I don't know if you know ASMR, sort of like the sort of slow. I don't like people that just sit there like tapping on microphones. It drives me mad. Or people that do like the eating ones.
Yeah, like the mukbang, but then it's like.
No, it's grim. I just can't do it. But like if someone's like talking about, I like the ones that there was one lady, she does Japanese ASMR, so she'll talk in Japanese, and I love it. And it's like things like that. Do you have like any polar opposites to drum and bass that help you kind of like focus and get your jobs done?
I mean, I'll listen. It's difficult. I think a lot of high energy stuff will always be like hard techno. Sometimes that's probably easier than drum and bass because when I'm listening to drum and bass, I'm in my like artist brain of like analyzing the way they've mixed something. Whereas when it's a genre I don't know that well, it's way easier to get stuff done because I'm not listening in being like, that's interesting how they've done that, or that's interesting how they've done that. It will be a bunch of music I've never listened to I'm just enjoying. So like hard techno, house. I'd say even in everyday life, it'll be more, garage that I'll listen to just because then it's not activating my artist brain, I guess you could say.
That makes total sense, actually. I suppose, yeah, because you can kind of, do you feel music? Like, say, I've spoke about it in many podcasts, like about how I feel music, like, but I can also, my brain can separate a song. So if I'm listening to something, I can separate it, even though I can't make music. I've never been able to do it. I've literally just want to throw my laptop every time I try, but like, I don't have the patience for it. That's why I have so much respect for artists, because you've got so much patience, but like, you can get it and separate it. Does that make sense? Like you can see what they've put in. Is that what you mean by that? Yeah,
I think because even producers say it, like once you learn how to produce music, it's harder to enjoy the music you're producing, because instead of just enjoying it for what it is as a song, you're like hyper analyzing, oh, they used this synth, they used this snare, they used whatever, which is almost why I love going to raves, because you're in the moment, you're with people, it kind of lets you enjoy the music again rather than being at home and like hyper analyzing everything.
Yeah. Do you find actually at raves that people just typically do not care? They don't judge you at all, do they? Like, yeah, I'm in my 30s and I'm like throwing shapes about, do you know what I mean? I do not care. Like I feel my youngest at a rave, like, and I do it sober. I like to absorb all of it, like, and just take it all in. But standing, like when you were on stage in Manchester, I was stood right next to the speaker and my whole body was vibrating. Like when you're up on stage, like, do you get that same effect, or is it because the sound's going out, it's not impacting you as much?
It depends on the venue. Like I know where was it? I was in Lincoln for a show, I think the week after Manchester, and I was stood next to my friend. She was on a stage where the sub was underneath the stage. So you'd stand there and you'd actually just feel it vibrating. Wow. I remember she played one of her tracks beforehand and we were like wobbling. But yeah, typically not so much, because you only have the booth monitors, especially for those bigger stages. They put obviously all the speakers to make sure the crowd enjoy it, but then you've got like 2 smaller ones next to you to make sure you can hear. It's really dependent on the venue, but regardless, like I think having the crowd and the energy there, it doesn't need to be as much there.
Yeah, it was like it gets worse, I think, like with the vibrations and stuff. Then when the crowd starts singing, and it's like, and it's insane. But I did go upstairs at Manchester, and it was so hot up there, it was horrendous. But feeling, and I hate to say it, and I'm one of them, I'll say it how it is. But Sota, I loved him so much, but there were times where I wish that MC hadn't have spoke over it. Does that, I know it's just because this is the ADHD. Like I'm so funny about stuff like that. Like I'll be there and I want to listen to it in the flash. I want to hear it in the flash. And then someone's going, yeah. And I'm like, please stop doing that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's such a tricky balance, isn't it? I think with like newer drum and bass as well, because obviously like MCs have always been such a huge part of the culture, but like drum and bass nowadays is so different to the drum and bass that used to be played out. So it's like getting a
they've got
balance.
to find that medium, haven't they? Like,
yeah, it's really interesting. Like I recently started doing more gigs like in the Netherlands, for example, and like there it's been pushed more for me to get on the mic and to host more, whereas like in the UK I'd literally just sing my song and like that would be it. Then in the Netherlands every single DJ is getting on the microphone, like it's very normal. And it's because there's not, or like from what I've seen, there's less MCs. Maybe it's because it's more dance floor drum and bass focused, which...
I think MC is a very British thing, isn't it? Like,
yeah
it is. And then like you've got things, you've got, like I say, it doesn't take away from what they do, because obviously I couldn't do it, but like sometimes you just don't want it there and you want to just hear it as it is in that moment. Like when I went to see Sub Focus, hearing it, oh god, it was at Wembley, so it was a big venue, but like, oh my god, that it was euphoric in there because he's got this big like circular sounds, that was it. Have you, who would you say, like, who's like been the drum and bass artist you've seen live that's probably like one of the bigger artists? Like, who would you say probably like your best one?
Probably like Circadian. I think any Circadian or Sota will be like, if I'm going to one of their sets, I know I'm gonna like have the best time regardless of like where it is. I think it's just like the angriness of the music and just like
it is angry. Yeah.
But it's the fact they have vocals as well. And like as a vocalist, like that's one of the most important things for me, is to have a vocal. Like when I'm mixing all my sets, there's probably rarely a time where there's not a vocal in there, just because for my own brain I need that to like keep drawing in the crowd. And then maybe because I don't have an MC, I will have vocals on everything. So yeah, I'd say they're the two artists that I'd go to. I remember Circadian back-to-back Bish at Boomtown. It was not last year but the year before that. I remember like just saying to my friends, I think we've not seen any drum and bass that day, and I was like, we just need to see this one set, and we got there and we were like, this is incredible.
Yeah, I saw Sota first time 2023. He was supporting Dimension at Wembley. I think it was one of his first sets, and my little claim to fame is I'm sure it was Sota or the other one that was on, but it was his granddad that was sat next to me, because I was up in the crowd. His granddad was there and he was the cutest thing. He was like, that's my grandson. I was like, I can't cope. Like, so when you kind of see that they are just people living their life and probably have day jobs and doing all of that. But tell me about Manchester, like, because obviously like I saw, this is why I asked you to come on, because that video where you said about like having to start speaking to the microphone, like how was that? Like, what? Tell me about Manchester, like for you, seeing all of us like little people in the crowd, like living our best life. Like,
for me, it was incredible, just because I've had such huge shows. Very like grateful to have such huge shows the past 6 months. Like when I was in Australia and New Zealand, and I'd started doing more abroad stuff, and it's like incorporating my own vocals I'd always done, but I was improving so much more with doing the crowd hosting and with doing these shows back to back, where I'm like making sure the crowd are hyped every single second. And I think in that one I hadn't done like a huge UK show for so long, and obviously the crowds are so much more different. But that one, I think, what was it? My best friend who'd been away in Australia for like 2 years, she'd just gotten back to the UK and like was there to see it. So obviously the one that like showed me the drum and bass. So it felt very full circle, being able to do that. Even just friends that like, because it was near Leeds and I went to university in Leeds, like they all managed to come to it. It just kind of all lined up perfectly to be such a great performance, because I don't know, it was a set I'd practiced but then added different things in, and I don't know, it was one of those moments where it just all came together.
It was amazing, like genuinely, because I met and drummed it because we were in the same hotel. Like you could not make that situation up. Like I was laughing with the concierge.
I was wondering how that all came about.
Do you know what? Call it a gut feeling. It was one of them. The day before, I booked a travel lodge, and they cancelled it because they were overbooked. And I was like, I don't have a hotel. What am I going to do? And then I saw, it's called the Edwardian, and it was right opposite the venue. That would be me, because I'm going on my own. I know then I'm safe. So I booked it mainly for safety concerns. I get to the hotel, bearing in mind, I've been in 2 hours of traffic from where I live in Derby, like 2 hours of traffic, that killed me off. And then I got there, I was in a foul mood. I was just like, I can't be arsed with this today. Like, I just want to go and have a nap. Like, and then I said to this concierge guy, I was like, he's like, oh, why are you here? Because you're on your own. And I was like, oh, because I'm going to see like across the road. And I says, wouldn't it be funny if the one that I'm here to see just walked around the corner now? I was in the same hotel and he walked around the corner. And I went, like, I'm all into like spiritual universal stuff. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and I think probably poor guy by my face, I bet he was just like, Jesus Christ, Amy. Like,
yeah, but that is scary on point of like,
it freaked me out because I was even at the wrong desk. I wasn't supposed to go to that desk to check in. I was supposed to go around the corner. So I didn't know that because I just walked in and I was just flustered, you know. And then like we was in a lift. And then after like a few hours of like sort of decompressing, I went to the bar and he was in the bar and I was like, oh my God, he's here again. Like, so then we just got talking and he gave me an hour of his time. Like, and for me, honestly, I wish I would have said like, come on, but he said to me, he was like, I said, oh, I want to do this podcast. And he's like, just do it. I went, okay, I'll do it. But yeah, like he said, like, because I remember we were sat there and we're talking about the artist that we're on and we spoke about you and he was like, oh, I'm going to speak to her. Like, did you manage to talk to him? Because he's such a sweetheart.
I know. Sadly I didn't get to chat to him that much because I think I saw him obviously when I handed over the gig, handed over the decks, but not after. But because I'd played his show, his like Andromatic Invites in Amsterdam like a couple of weeks before, and it was like, I don't know, a nice little, like, I saw him there. I got to see him at SOTA again, like one of the people whose music got me into drum and bass. So it's just like, again, such a full circle moment.
He's just a sweetheart. And honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like it's these like sort of those kinds of people that he's very individual as well with his music. And like, it doesn't always sound like everyone else's. Like sometimes you'll hear, there's some artists that I followed on Spotify and they're just throwing out stuff week after week after week, trying to get into the algorithm. But when you listen to people like Andromatic, he's kind of like, he will, like when he released Air, I said to him, I don't think you're going to ever top that because it was just insanely good. But then he's got some new ones coming. I'm like, oh, actually, but it's one of them, isn't it? Like, yeah, like what a top guy. But even SOTA, like, you can tell that. So this is where we spoke about this in another podcast, like with the rise of AI, where are you at with AI and music? Like, because a lot of drum and bass is being orchestrated by AI, and then they're like, it's not, and I'm like, it is. Like,
I almost feel like drum and bass is one of the few things that could be more safe from it, because I've seen, you know, you put into things, I've even tried it like just to see what it does, like make a drum and bass song, and it doesn't sound anything like music today that is being well received. Obviously it can create probably maybe different melody ideas or synths, but like the actual technical ability of some of these drum and bass producers, it's, so no, I feel like it could be the one thing that is safe, whereas you've got like pop music, which can obviously be very easily replicated, and there's a lot more for AI to grasp onto to remake it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think for vocalists, which obviously I'm a vocalist, it's a bit more difficult because AI can like create insane vocals, and especially for producers, like a lot of, they don't want to be using splice because they want to seem like they want to be original. They don't want to be using the same vocal as someone else. It's so easy to resort to AI, and you can't blame them sometimes if they don't have the money or they don't have the connections to be able to find a vocalist, even though like obviously that's what they should be doing. It's really difficult, and I think that's why building an artist brand and a community is so much more important than just like, obviously having your music as top quality and incredible as possible is important, but also having that online community where like you're chatting with fans, or you're, you know, creating your own personality, like how Mosey, for example, he does all his incredible videos just being himself, and that's why people follow him, because they love his music, they love his sets, but they love his personality, and that's not something AI can really recreate. Yeah, and obviously a lot of artists will say they hate the fact that you have to, you know, post on social media and maybe do a silly dancing video, but like sadly,
like Vengeant does that, like I freaking love him.
I remember I did when he did his track with Teen Sugar, we did in London, we did a little like music video shoot in the Tube with DJ Mills as well, and yeah, it's just so funny. So funny.
I just love them. And you're right, because you have to have a certain personality, don't you? Like, I suppose anyone does. Like, if you're, I mean, like people like myself doing a podcast, like I can't just be sat there like, tell me about yourself. You have to be so like,
you have to know it, and like you're not going to get good feedback off the people you're chatting to if you can't get that out of them by understanding the topic. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. So it's like tea and sugar, prime example, like with the whole Harlem Shake thing. Well, I've signed myself up, haven't I? I've told them, I was like, I will literally come wherever you are, I will come and do it, because I'm so down for that.
That's why I love drum and bass. It's not like pretentious, like it's just doing silly stuff like that. Like that's what people love, and people go there to enjoy themselves and not feel judged. And like that's a perfect example of like why it works.
And and going back to like vocals and stuff like that, I mean, there are a lot of upcoming vocalists, I know that, because I mean personally I've done it where I've put myself out there singing, and like if anyone wants to put me on one of their tracks, freaking do it. Because I even told Axel this, I was like, on my bucket list I want to feature on one track, that is it, and then I know I've completed that part of my bucket list. But in the rise of AI, it does make it harder for people to get themselves out there, because mate, I'd do it for free, I don't care, I just love it, like, when I'm blasting. I mean, it's even going as far as like this morning, I don't know if you remember Anastasia from way back when, the most insane vocalist, and I'm blasting her stuff from the 90s, and then it will go back to drum and bass. And like, if you could, who do you like idolize in terms of vocalists? It doesn't have to be drum and bass, but like who would you like idolize and say like, oh my god, I wish I sounded like her? Or
it's difficult, I think, in terms of, I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of like Halsey, Melanie Martinez, like Lana Del Rey. It wouldn't even be, obviously their vocals are amazing, but like again, it would be the artistry alongside it, the kind of visual world building that they would have as a part of their own vocals and their own writing and storytelling, which I sometimes envy, because I feel like it can be lost in drum and bass a little bit, because when you're writing songs for the rave rather than to like communicate something super emotional, it's really hard to find that balance.
That makes sense, because I suppose it's so highly energetic, and if you're like writing a song about an experience that you've been through and then you're trying to add it to that, I get it.
It's like two brains. It's like, am I sitting down? Even yesterday I was like really struggling to write stuff, and I was like, it's because I'm not in the mood to write some high energetic anthem right now. I'm in the mood to write some really sad guitars and write something quite emotional. And so I wrote it and I made it. It probably won't go anywhere, but it's more of like selfish writing, I guess you could say.
Sometimes you have to be selfish though.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Otherwise, stop it and see what happens. You might be surprised. Like, I mean, like, what would you say to anyone that's listening and goes, I want to make music, I don't know where to start? Like, what would you tell them?
I'm trying to think how I mean, it's obviously getting in the room with people, I think, in terms of not like anyone huge, but like with other creatives, I think was a huge turning point for me, because obviously I like would sit at home. Obviously it depends if you want to push it commercially or just do it for fun. But even I always think of like making sure my projects stay sustainable. It's by making sure I have fun and I enjoy it. And you can be stuck writing in your room, and if that's not making you super happy because you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, like even just meeting up with someone to write music and share ideas creatively and make you think in ways that you wouldn't usually do, I think is just so important. Whether that is messaging someone whose music you like online, I don't know, I just think the in-person connection is so much more helpful, because then you also have access to their network of people. If you express you want to get more into something else, they can be like, I've got a friend who makes that, let me link you up. I think that's just
amazing. Yeah. And drum and bass has a habit of doing that, doesn't it? Because I've noticed it's more of a community. It's not like, oh, I'm doing better than you. I know that you have like some very high up artists now in drum and bass that are off doing their own thing, and younger sort of talents don't really like, or smaller talents don't really get like a look in. But you know, like at a collective level, I find that, you know, even for me just going to raves, like being in the crowds and talking, that you just go up to anyone and they're just like, we're here for the same reason. But yeah, I've been to other gigs where people can be quite like different genres, like people can be quite like horrible and not so nice, but what, like, so kind of like, what are you listening to at the moment? What is your, I don't know. I'll give you a prime example. Tea and Sugar's new one that they're about. I think they haven't dropped it yet, have they? That one. What do you want? It's been in my head for 3 solid days, and I'm struggling to get it out of my head. Like, what is that tune at the moment, that, or a couple of tunes that's like got you in a chokehold? Like,
it's difficult to say because I've almost been drum and bassed out for a bit, which can happen because obviously it can happen. And I also find like if I've not been, because I had such a busy March, I've not been to loads of raves, so I've kind of been dipping back more into like the older like rock and like singer-songwriter stuff that I've used to listen to quite a lot because it's refreshing almost. Like, is it, do you know, I always say it wrong, Pavris, Pvris. So like a band I used to listen to ages when I was younger. I need to have a quick look to see what I've actually been listening to.
I always hit people with this, and they're like, "Oh no, now I need to look on my Spotify." Like,
what was it? Skepsis new tune with Charlotte Haining. I actually think is really beautiful.
It is
something like, I think again, like the more singer-songwriter stuff, pretty music that isn't so rave focused. Because especially when DJing, like when I'm making a set, it's all about energy and high energy, and sometimes you just want to listen to something that's like singer-songwritery.
But that does reflect like in a lot of people, I suppose, because you can't be on a constant high always. But here's one. Do you experience because we were talking about before we started recording about like sober raves, like do you get the come down for a couple of days after a rave? Because I literally just hated life for 3 days after Manchester, genuine.
I get more of like, I feel better, like I can tell in myself that I've not gone to a rave the past few weeks because I don't feel as great. And it sounds so stupid, but like it's like you said, like once you go to a rave, everyone's so lovely and everyone's so chatty and interested in everything and so like happy to talk to you. It's almost, I don't know, it's like a little reset, because if you're not, a lot of these people you wouldn't see otherwise if you're not at a rave, because people are coming all from different places of the country. So it's like you're getting to have like a little reunion and all the people that maybe you chat to online, but like once you see them in person, it's just so refreshing. So it's almost, for me, I'm always someone who's more motivated if I'm super busy. So it's like going straight from a rave back to work just makes me feel, makes me feel a lot better.
It does make you like go into another world.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. I love it, especially like festivals. I think that's why I'm really looking forward to in summer, because festivals also, like a rave is just one night and people obviously can like be drinking quite a lot and maybe just there for like the one set, whereas at a festival you actually get like the extended period of time to like meet people and catch up with people that you've maybe not seen for a while. So
I've noticed that actually with raves, like some people go for specifically like one act and then they go, and I was getting so angry because I wanted to be on the front row the whole time I was there in Manchester. Sorry, it's my dog. But like going through, like I had people that were just there for Sota and they were like pushing their way to the front. And I'm like, no, because I was getting, like I said, I was getting like full on elbowed by people shoving me. And I'm just like, no, I'm staying. I'm quite a very firmly rooted person. When I stand still, I am not moving. Like, but I think, like you say, with coming away from a rave, I think like for a couple of days, I just wanted to be back there, because it's like you're so in that moment, it's just full of euphoria. You're in a separate world. All your life's problems do not exist. And then you're having to come back to normality. And I came back home and I just sat on my sofa and I was like, well, I want to do that again. And then later on in that day, I booked Worried About Henry in the city in London in July, which I'm going to on my own. Like, I don't care. Like, so do you go to raves on your own, or do you typically go with other people?
When I moved from Leeds to London, I'm very happy to. And I think I get a lot of euphoria out of like putting myself, obviously it's a bit out of my comfort zone to not know anyone there, but like I get very proud of myself if I do that. Yeah. And I would hate to not go to something I would really want to go to because I don't have someone to go to with. So especially when I moved from Leeds to London, I remember, especially like Shogun sessions or like the free pop-ups that you can do, I would go to those by myself. And there would always be someone there that you're like, oh, I've seen you online, or oh, this and this, and I would like challenge myself, being like, go up to them, say hello, start a conversation. And now, even if I don't know if someone's going to an event, I can very happily like go by myself and know I'll probably meet people and be friends with people there, and it's like a really nice feeling. And almost I used to be quite anxious as a kid, so for me it's like a nice reassuring thing of like, I can do this, I can put myself out there, I can it's like prove myself.
You sung on stage in Manchester and you've got an incredible voice, and so like you should honestly be so proud of yourself, because if someone gave me a microphone and gone, go on then, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, did you feel like nervous doing that, or was it just once you were in that moment it didn't matter?
I think I quite like it, because once you're in, I mean, obviously I've done it I've done it quite a few times now, so it's less so nerves, and in that moment it's like it's happening now. Like I get really nervous on the day and like beforehand, but like once I'm ready and I'm there, it's like it's happening, you can't do anything about it. If that it's like I've got to go sing on stage now, like I don't have a choice, which is quite nice, because you're not experiencing that I'm scared. It's like you've got to do it. I was lucky that I grew up doing like a lot of dancing and like performance on stage as a kid, so I think obviously I used to start DJing and I was really nervous, but like as I grew more comfortable with it, something clicked of like I can merge when I performed on stage as like a dancer and doing musical theatre, where I still remember my teacher like smile, perform to the audience, this and this, and I like merged that with my own like DJ performance, and then it makes it so much, I'm not just DJing when I'm up there, I'm like performing to a crowd, I'm connecting with them, I'm like sharing my love of the music with them rather than just standing there, which I know is like quite controversial. Like I've had comments, especially on Facebook, where they're like, oh, why are you dancing so much? And it's like, well, I've practiced it enough that, I mean, my set is very, especially with the singing and the vocals, it's very like I plan it to a T, because otherwise I know I won't give a good performance. And I want to be able to dance and enjoy it and perform with everyone, because it's what's half the fun.
If I ever saw anyone commented to you asking why are you dancing so much, I'd be like, because she's enjoying her life. Like, why do people have to pick at things like that? It just frustrates me, because I think, you know, some DJs, they're up there and they're concentrating and they are in that moment and they're not enjoying it, because they're like, no, I need to make sure this blends, I need to make sure that this happens, or I press that button and whatever. Whereas yourself, most DJs that I see, they are literally going for it. And I think absolutely, because actually that makes the energy like spread, doesn't it? Like I don't care, like my legs kill after a rave because I'm stood there, and then I start going, no, I need to move my body because I'm feeling like this. And then so when you're kind of like dancing about and stuff like that, you know, you're on your feet for hours. So you got to enjoy it, because otherwise, what is the point in going? I mean, I'd seen people at Sota up in the top. They were just sat there, and I'm like, you need to dance. Like no one cares. Like it's so much more fun. And I think like going to raves on your own as well. Like you say, like striking up a conversation with somebody. It takes a lot to do that. But even just going to a pop up on your own, even going to a rave on your own, like, not many people will do that because they feel like it's a social event, but actually you'd be surprised how many people go on their own.
Yeah. And I think that's a good service to the point of like, it's something that you're going to for the music. You're not going to just like, obviously it's great to go to have a good time with your friends, but like for a lot of people, the more people who are there just to enjoy the music, like the better the community will get, and they can find people who enjoy what they enjoy. Even at university, you'd see, I think that's why I really enjoyed university, because it's like I met so many people who loved the same music as me and who enjoyed it that you wouldn't have ever met if I just stayed I live quite far out of London, so it's like I wouldn't have met all these people who enjoy that, because there would have been no shared spaces to do that, which is also why it's so sad that so many venues are closing, and why like these pop-ups probably in London saved me a little bit, because it's more intimidating for me to like go to like a drum sheds thing by myself compared to like obviously a small intimate pop-up. I mean, I could still probably do it, but everyone at a Shogun Sessions pop-up is more likely there because they do really, really love the music. Whereas you could say for drum sheds, there'd be people who love the music and people who are on a night out with their mates who maybe don't listen to the music that much. So you're less likely to initially like strike up a conversation with someone and they're definitely going to be up for it, kind of thing.
I think those pop-ups as well, like I wanted to see it. There was one Metric did not too long ago, but it was like, it was like a random Thursday night, and I was like, I can't do it, it's a school night. Like, but those kinds of little vibes, because you're like, say Andromedic Invites, prime example, you're going to his venue, so people are going to see him. With Soto, I did notice a mixed bunch. Like there were people that were like not there for that reason, they were there to just have a night out. And I think sometimes those more intimate shows, they do, I don't know, they hold more meaning actually. Like they just seem to be so much more like, yeah, you're in that space, you're all there for the same reason. And I think that's how it's, like you say, it's so much easier to have a conversation with somebody that's got a shared interest.
Yeah. I think you can even see like when I've done Shogun sessions, you can see everyone there is so happy because they're also getting to be in that space that in their day-to-day lives, they don't get to talk about the music, they don't get to share that love. And like everyone's getting to do that in that moment. You can tell everyone's so happy to do that. Yeah, it's a nice feeling.
So where are you next? Where can, if people go, I want to go see you in action, where are you going to be?
I'm playing in the Netherlands next Saturday, which I'm very excited for. And then I'll have another gig in the Netherlands, I think in May. And then I think my next one in the UK is actually in probably June or July. I'm a bit quiet now, but I think that's because obviously festival season. I'll be playing at Rampage Open Air, which I'm really excited to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that'll be fun because I won the competition last year. So it's like really exciting to like be booked again for the year after. Yeah. And then playing in Bristol, I'll be supporting Tea and Sugar and Ale Mode, which is fun because I've not played in Bristol probably for like 3 years now, which is kind of insane. But yeah.
I'm wondering if there's still tickets for that because I'm tempted. I'm not going to lie. Like that's a
great. So.
I'm excited about that. Worried about Henry. I'm honestly like, you should go if you can go because I'm
weekend is Rampage, I think. Otherwise I would otherwise I would 100% be there because Viridity and Violet are playing as well, which I think will be insane.
When I saw the lineup, I screamed because again, it was one of them. I knew I was only really going for Andromedic, but as soon as I saw that Pendulum, I've never seen Pendulum live. And my 15-year-old inner teenager is screaming because that's like, I knew I liked drum and bass at the time. I just didn't realize it. Yeah, I was an emo kid kicking back with Pendulum, but there we are.
I find it funny is like you see people talk about that when like they listened to music when they were younger that they didn't realize was drum and bass, but they loved it so much. And then like when they like drum and bass, they're like, oh, that's so weird because I was obsessed with this, but I just never realized that was drum and bass.
It really didn't have a name, did it? Until sort of the last sort of, I don't know, how long has it been since drum and bass became a thing? Because I've only really been into it for the like last 10 years.
I mean, I guess you can say it's like from the 90s, but like it was back like in 2010, wasn't it, when it had a big resurgence and then it went into pop music. But like when you're younger, you wouldn't be thinking, you're just liking the song. You don't know why, because it's just in the mainstream.
EDM was a big one in the 2010s, wasn't it? Like Avicii, like I miss that guy. Like honestly, if he was like still alive now, I think he would have probably navigated into drum and bass. Absolutely.
I listened to a bunch of Tiny Temper tracks that I used to love, and like the end of them was all drum and bass, and I was like, what? Like I was like 13 probably listening to this, just like, oh, this is so cool. And I listen back and I'm like, I was actually listening to drum and bass.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I it's one of my proudest moments actually, that when he did the Discovery album, I know every single track. I can tell you every single one, sing along to all of them, but like pass out at the end, it's like so it does make sense.
Yeah, it should, but you just don't. I always wonder. Before drum and bass, I loved reggaeton, which is like half the BPM, but still the exact same pace as drum and bass. And I'm almost like, is there something that we all share that like that specific pace just does click for some reason, similar to like how people love house or like, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, like what would you even have called Tiny Temper back then? I would have said like, I don't know, it's not even R&B, is it? Like what would his genre have been back then in comparison to looking at it now? Like, no, that's actually quite drum and bassy actually, because you've got that last little drop and then it's there and you're like, oh yeah, I can hear it now. But now it makes sense. Now we understand why we're all into this kind of music.
Yeah, it's like clicking.
But you've just released a song called My Religion.
Yes. Yeah.
How does it feel like getting that one out? Because it's amazing.
Thank you. It's really nice. I think what makes it more special is because the guys I made it with, Krasia, I met one of the guys, Matty, his brother went to university in Leeds, and we all went to a festival together last year, Gemfest, and that's where like we got introduced. And like when we did that studio session, it was just when I'd moved to London, and although like I had so much fun writing the song with them, it was actually just so nice to hang out with other drum and bass heads and just have a good time and have a laugh and a chat about like the music. So the song is kind of just the whole thing of like drum and bass is my religion, like this is my like thing that makes me happy in the world. But yeah, it's also just the fact that we got to write it and have such a good time while doing it. So
I like that concept though, that drum and bass is like a religion, because it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah,
just have a good time. Like
it's like saying like this is the thing that drives me each day, kind of thing. Brings people together. So it's
I like kind of look at that as a rave as being sort of like a church session, really. Like everyone's throwing hands, living our best lives. Oh, honestly, you've been an absolute pleasure to talk to. Thank you so much for coming on. And I feel like proper fangirling today. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's been it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. You can find my podcast every Tuesday and Thursday. And don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms. See you next time.